This time I'll call this regular meeting of the Port Lavaca City Council to order on this Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. I would ask everyone to please rise. And Councilman Ward, would you deliver an invocation for us?
Sure. Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for your love, for your son, Jesus Christ. We thank you for the blessings that we have in this nation. Ask, Lord, that you would protect it from those that might seek to undermine it. We ask, Lord, that you will be with our members of Congress and the various state legislators, local officials, that the decisions that are made will be in accordance with your will and under the guidance and direction of your Holy Spirit. And I pray, Lord, that you'll just go with us tonight in this meeting, and your will be done here. And I pray all this, Father, in Jesus Christ's name and for his sake, and I give you the praise and honor and glory, Father. And I thank you for hearing our prayer. Amen.
Amen. Everyone, please join me in the pledges of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas,
One state, under God, one indivisible.
Somebody out there that's not.
As you do before every meeting, I would at this time ask if there's anyone here that wishes to comment. City Council. Public. Andy, did anyone sign up to talk? Okay. Seeing no one from the public here to make comments before council, we will move on. Again, with our consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the August 5th, 2024 workshop meeting, the minutes of the August 12th, 2024 regular meetings, the minutes of the August 19th, 2024 special meeting and workshop, a review of our credit card statements, receiving our monthly financial highlight report. Okay, somebody didn't like the monthly highlight. Financial highlight. Review of our quarterly investment report, receive the Victoria Economic Development Corporation monthly report, and ratify the 5-year lease of tracks 9 and 9A to Prestige, and to ratify the 2-month up to 6-month lease of the boat slips CH1 and CH3 and 0.4 acre. Yes. 4/10 of an acre of the old freezer plant site to Mike Hooks LLC.
I'd like to pull items H and I, so just a quick discussion.
Right, so we have items. So we have a motion for items A through G.
Make a motion, we approve the items A through G on the consent agenda.
Have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve items A through G on the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. None opposed, motion passes. Move to agenda H. Consent agenda item H, ratify the 5-year lease of tracks 9 and 9A to Prestige.
So I just had a question, reading through the lease, I mean, we've had troubles in the past where tenants were subleasing. And I didn't see a clause in it that says they were not allowed to sublease. And then I think we've had trouble where people were allowing boats to multiple dock, double and triple dock. And I didn't see anything against that. So I just want to make sure.
Notice it's our,
5-year lease where
this is our standard lease document, and I think there is language. There is language. I'm looking for right now.
Point out to me because I don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, but with that, this lease comes with dockage. So they're not paying like extra for
They're not.
dockage.
It's another boat comes in and docks next to them.
If in fact if they were docking and it wasn't part of their operations, then yes. And that's when that's what we're going to be adopting, leading and mooring or docking charges. But for their operations, that cost is in there. And I don't think we would necessarily allow somebody to double up without their consent. But if that were to happen, then yes, we would charge for the doubles for the boat that has nothing to do with Prestige.
9.01,
That article, let's see where would that be?
Article 9,
Page is that?
page 10,
Page 10? Oh,
bottom.
no, wait, it's 9. Okay. 75. Transfer of tenant. So a transfer is considered a sublease?
Yes. Any transfer, whether the whole lease, part of the lease, any of it.
So if they don't have a boat in there and they pull somebody else's boat and they're charging them for
Right, that's considered a transfer of the lease. Yes.
lapsing,
Yes.
Yes.
You have a copy of the lease?
is that clear? I mean, does everybody know that that's what that means? Is that clear?
Yeah, I mean, but
Comment.
as I recall, I mean, that was like what the Port Commission requested the wording say, as opposed to I had assignment, but they like the word transfer because it's less, it's not so.
Okay. All right, well, if that's, as long as that meets my thing. I just want to make sure we didn't like
Yeah,
that situation again.
no, it's a 5-year lease. We want to make sure it's right.
We did, Jody and I actually in the past couple of weeks have had long conversations about if the dockage is part of the lease, which this Prestige.
This one it
is. I mean, that's for their dock, for their boats, or anyone they're buying oysters from to be able to come there, dock, and not be charged separately.
Correct.
Move to item 9, ratify the 2-month lease.
Do you want to take action to approve H?
Others.
Ultimates.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But I mean, I could make a motion to approve the 5-year lease for tracks 9A and 9 and 9A to Prestige.
Okay, we'll do them separately. Okay. Have a motion. Are you making a motion to ratify the lease for
Yes.
tracks 9A and 9 to Prestige?
Yes.
Second. You have a motion and second
Second.
approving the 5-year lease, Prestige as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Opposed, should pass.
Right, move to consent agenda item number I, is that all right? Ratify the 2-month lease,
I could.
LLC.
Yeah.
And I know that there is a typo because that should be CH2 and CH3.
CH1 and 2.
Yeah, because CH1 is
Oh, I like the idea of utilizing that parking lot, even though it's a short time, but that was well done. So appreciate that.
yeah.
So.
Thinking out of the box a little bit.
So I guess, and I don't have any questions. I mean, we answered it on item H, but so.
Okay.
May I make a motion that we ratify the 2-month lease with the change to CH2 and CH3.
Oh, freezer land. The freezer land.
Yeah.
We're missing a P there.
Yeah. So, yeah, so they're using that parking lot. It's full right now.
Yeah.
It's a little low, but I mean, we're only using it. It's only like 2 to 6 months and then they're gone.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's till their project is over and it's gonna be at least 2 months. It's possible. They may get an extension, some additional work, and then if it ran after that, then they have to come back in and get a new lease.
Did we back charge them for their stuff, what they were doing in Harbor of
You
Refuge?
did not. You started with September. I mean, they're parking at the Harbor Refuge. There really wasn't any way to do that. We did not go back and do the 2 boat slips at because they were parking at Prestige's was Prestige wasn't getting any money. It was one of those things. We could do it, but it was a lot of paperwork. We just kind of learning experience. We know from now on, we just started with September.
That's why they're coming in. Okay.
Yes.
So I made a motion to ratify the lease with the change to CH2 and CH3.
Second. Second. Motion and second ratifying the 2-month up to 6 month lease of the boat slips CH2 and CH3. and portions of an acre of the old freezer plant site to Mike Cooks LLC as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. None opposed, motion passes. This concludes the consent agenda. We'll move on to action items. Agenda item number one, review proposed fiscal and 2025 undimed budget and proposed plan to address the
We'll try on the things.
the trihalomethane levels with representatives of undimed. Jody?
And Mayor Council, tonight we have with us Vance Tillman. He's a Chief Financial Officer with Undyne. Daryl Wilson is the H2O Regional Vice President, and Keaton Dunn, who manages the plant manager for the wastewater, for the water, water treatment plant with H2O. And they're gonna discuss a little bit, share with us the proposed budget that we did review at last council meeting. And then also talked about our challenge that we're dealing with the total trihalomethane.
I can't pronounce that, so I'm.
All right.
And thank you for having us. Council member Tippett asked about Rick Melcher, our public relations director. I had planned to offer his regrets. He is hosting a town meeting tonight. A town hall meeting. We typically have meetings when we purchase new systems. Talk to the customer, but he feels a particular kinship here and wanted me to pass on his regards. Included in your packet, page 111, is the budget. You'll see that the operating expenses for the total plant totals $2,974,579. The Port Lavaca portion, $1,983,152. On page 112, you'll see a variance between last year's budget and this year. And the variance shows a budget increase of $350,140. That's about 21%. So
So at the end of the year, we were supposed to do a true up for the contract.
we did.
Are the true up numbers in here? I mean, are the budget number, that's the actual budget. That's not the true up.
This is budget to budget.
Okay,
So, and the actual budget itself is created from the trailing 12 months actual.
so that would be the true. So this budget is basically the true up.
That's correct.
Okay.
So 21% increase, certainly against your intention. It's important to note that the administrative and general expense is allocated to all of our systems, the plant included, based on account of equivalent residential connections. The primary driver of the overall budget increase is in the increase in administrative and general expense. And that's a result of the prior year amount was held artificially low by Undine CEO Ed Wallace. And by holding the ERC level at 5,000, you might recall I said that in last year's budget. That was actually to the benefit of the city. So what you're seeing now is an actual calculation of the ERC, the equivalent residential connections, based on the information that the city provided us. So basically what we do is we calculate the ERCs based on the meter information, and that resulted in an increase in the count, and that count is used to help allocate. So in prior year, we had basically under allocated, and now we're using actual. So it seems like a big increase, but what you're seeing is you got the benefit of that in the last prior couple of cycles. Does that make sense? Did I screw that up?
Makes sense.
Well, like we mentioned a little bit at the last meeting, one of the drivers that increases it too is that all our meters our residential meters are 3/4 inch instead of 5/8 inch, and each 3/4 inch is 1.5 ERCs.
And that's pretty standard. We use the American Water Association calculation for that. Really, all the other expense items, I mean, you see them, there's some puts and takes, but they're not really significant.
So well, I mean, this is on the negative side, but the repairs and maintenance look like they're gonna be half, less than half, so.
Yeah, we have overestimated. And we didn't have to do as many repairs as we thought.
So where's all the capital? I mean, you guys have done some things with.
This is operating. So,
Operating. Okay.
so where you'll see capital flow in is through the depreciation.
Okay. So relocating the pump and all that stuff is in there.
Well, the depreciation on that capital,
Not just,
not the capital itself.
okay. Okay, so that's kind of advantageous. to-
Yeah, because it gets spread out over time.
Okay. So is this,
That's really all I had, unless you have some specific questions, or if you want to ask questions later, that's fine too.
Yeah, yes, we've had that.
Not really, asking, sorry about asking questions about the budget and just the TPH units.
Well, again, if you do have any questions, Jody and I are pretty transparent and communicate frequently.
It did take a little while for us to get that, but
And we'd gotten it, on time. It took me a little while to, again, taking note of the huge difference or huge increase with the operating, the management fees. It took me a little while to go through that with them and make sure that I fully understood it
how
and
they calculate. the
how they calculated it and.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll turn it over to the reservoir people.
Thank you.
My name is Darrell Wilson. I work with H2O Innovation. So with the PTHM issue, wanted to address what we've done in the last year and a half that we've been working with you guys. And so to start with, the original plant was pulling directly out of the unit. And what we've done is we've transferred that water to the backside of the reservoir to give us an extra 20 days of detention. That's going to help. We rerouted the piping so we can both fill the reservoir and pump out. We've also changed our disinfection zone to post filters, which theory should be lessening the impact or with the chlorine has in contact.
It's causing the problem is having too much organic matter coming direct from
Correct.
GBRA
So
water.
having that 20-mile long canal, coming through South Texas, I mean, you've got just a ton of organic material growing in there. So trying to get rid of that and eliminate that. And organic material reacts with chlorine, causing the TTHMs. So by putting the disinfection zone post filters, we're seeing some improvements there.
You said an extra day in the reservoir,
Yes, 20 extra days actually is the detention time.
20 extra days. Is that reservoir covered?
It's not covered now.
That helps?
So no, and again, direct sun algae bloom, one of the proposed is for covering of the filters though, is one thing that is being proposed now. With shading over the same filter, so once the water gets through there, it'll be shaded and have near the growth of the algae. Undine has spent a tremendous amount of money. They've also cleaned out all the lagoons so we could waste properly. Before they were slam packed, we could not waste out of that pond. I mean, out of the cell basin. So, they've done a lot of work for us. They've also put fencing around the entire settle basin to reduce the impact of the wind. I mean, before they put these fences up, you could actually see the white caps on the settle basin. So by doing that, it's reducing the turbulence and helping everything settle. So like I said, we're making progress. We're not there yet. Undine has hired a consulting engineer out of Austin, and they have begun a CT study as we speak, brand new concentration time study. So we're looking at other ways of improving this. This is where we are as of now.
Is there something that's changed on the water coming into the plant? Is there more organics than there were a year or two
So
ago?
the organics vary all year, and then in summertime, they get worse. So you got the heat and the sun, it cooks it. So we should be seeing some decrease now that the weather's turning. Well,
Did you guys sample after rerouting and taking advantage of this 20 days of retention time now?
yes, we've been sampling and we're actually pulling daily samples now of sampling TTHMs. So we're tracking it. It has improved, but not drastically.
How large is that reservoir? You say you can hold us to 20 days.
About 20 to
And then
21
you
days.
have a regular draw from that and you're constantly filling that reservoir.
We're filling on the backside, so the water takes time to go through at the intake.
So the opposite ends, the feed and the suction. How large is that reservoir?
It's approximately 100 by 100, about 6 foot deep.
Gallons?
Sure.
100 by 100? I don't know, it just doesn't seem that large to be able to not cover it. Take from the sun and the heat. It might create more heat if you cover it though.
Wayne, is this new? I mean, it seems like it's worse this year than is this the worst it's ever been? Or, I mean, does this like
First time we got caught.
since you've been?
Since I've been here, we haven't been over 100 and we've consistently remained over 100.
So that's what I'm wondering, if there's something changing on the inlet side that we don't know about, but you guys are gonna be beating your heads against because it's gonna continue to get worse.
Well, not that I'm aware of on the intake. I'm really happy to know that we have this consulting engineer who is a surface water expert
Okay.
on board now. So we should be seeing some improvement.
Well, and I know we did have somebody from TCQ visited with y'all here, what, a month or so ago? And they were happy with what was,
Progress.
with the progress, but then like 2 days after I got that email from him, then the quarterly reports came out, and we were higher. It's going up again. So, but you know, he said he was happy with what the plan was, and he suggested we give them a few more months to see progress. But then, like I said, the next report that came out was even higher than the one before. And I'm just curious from what your thoughts are. Again, this isn't my area of expertise, but I know, GBRA always did an annual chlorine burn, and Undyne or H2O does not do that. I'm just curious the theory behind that, and obvious, when we burn where you change to chlorine instead of chloramines.
Okay.
And for a month or a couple weeks, I forget what it was, but I know you guys don't do that, and I don't know, I'm assuming you don't think that would help. It doesn't hurt not doing it.
I answer that there. Sure. That's not gonna help. Actually, free chlorine burn is gonna produce more TTHMs. Chloramines do not, in theory, theoretically, chloramines do not react with organics and produce those byproducts. That's free chlorine. So our big challenge is our D2 zone, which is a free chlorine zone. That free chlorine reacting with organics is what produces those byproducts. Chloramines do not. So my personal opinion, what you would do a chloramine conversion for is if you had high levels of nitrite, what we consider nitrification out of your system, which produces biofilm, which is going to eat up your chlorine residuals, et cetera. So doing a chlorine burn as far as helping TTHMs is actually going to be the opposite. You're going to create more TTHMs by going to a free chlorine burn versus free chlorine burns are for nitrification, not for TTHM.
Yeah, I meant, before today's meeting, I meant to go back to like 2017, kind of see what we were when we were having this issue with GBRA before, and it didn't get around to doing that. But I don't think they were as high as they are right now, but I don't know for sure, but they were high then. And
Is there a timeline that you've agreed with TCEQ to work this issue through, or is it just?
My knowledge, no, I don't, I can't speak on behalf of that. I'd be a different Undine representative to be able to answer that question specifically. I know it's in progress. I know TCEQ has the understanding of, hey, that you're trying to work to progress and move forward and fix this problem. Again, I think that's what Jody had mentioned earlier. There was an engineer that reached out, a TCEQ engineer, that actually spoke with Undine's engineer and talked about the plan and felt like we were all.
Yeah, because I mean, we've been out of compliance longer than y'all, but they understand. I mean, there's not a lot we can do with it when the water we're getting is at non-compliant.
I don't notice any taste difference, so I don't know that it's impacting us tremendously.
What were you saying about that lagoon getting cleaned out? What is that used for?
So the sludge lagoon, whenever we bring in the raw water into our settle basins, we put in a coagulant. And so everything settles out in the basins and we have to waste that sludge out to lagoons.
Oh, okay.
That we have. And there was 8 lagoons? Yes. 8 lagoons that were full, we couldn't get another drop down. So.
You guys, H2O is running the same amount of filters that GBR had. Same, only difference is when the TTHMs went up, is that before you start using reservoir or after you or after you use the reservoir?
They've been,
Patient, you mean?
It's
been up and down. They've been varied.
Because maybe you're trying, and I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I was just wondering, okay, could they be getting more balloons and more contamination because they're holding the water? It's not, it's growing, it's not settling like in theory it should. And the direct feed might have been a cleaner feed. So I was just curious about, okay, when did the TTHMs go up? After the water was diverted to the reservoir or before?
They were out before. And that just hasn't made a noticeable difference from the reservoir.
Is there any kind of time frame on this engineer to come up with a study or recommendation?
The CT study has begun now, I'm not sure. He said he has somebody working on it right now, so hopefully that'll get that
CT stands for what?
concentration time. So it's everything that the plant has to do for disinfection.
So without using those lagoons, were we carrying forward a lot of organic turbidity, those type of things, and overtaxing the sand filters?
Well, it could be it was building up, and actually we had a result of where we lost 2 of our clarifiers because the sludge built up so high we couldn't waste it. So by getting these cleaned out, we're able now to really keep up with it.
Yeah.
So it's more the mechanical issues with your clarifiers. And yes, it does affect water quality if your sludge blanket gets too high.
I guess the bottom line is I've got some citizens and constituents that have contacted me almost on a weekly basis concerned about the TKHMs and their exposure to it. And so that's why I wanted to try to ask questions, and I really like kind of with H2O and Undine, find out when do you expect that this is going to, I know you got the engineering coming in and that kind of thing, but what do you think the turnaround is before you can get a fix?
So I will have to get back with you.
Thank you.
Wayne, is there anything you want to add or what you've been doing?
I do want to add that this is not entirely their fault. The upstream water quality coming down adds a lot to the issue. The Guadalupe River is notoriously high in organics, has been for hundreds of years. My only concern is that after speaking with David Simons and the species of TTHMs we're dealing with is I would ask that we don't just focus on the organics because there's something else bringing the brominated species in there. Because he recommended to me to not put in aeration because it wouldn't do us any good. It would just cost money because it's not going to help.
Now, who is this? I'm sorry.
David Simons with TCQ. There's high levels of brominated TTHMs.
I thought y'all knew that already. I thought you'd shared that with them earlier. Told us about it, what, a month ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah, but David said he was gonna,
No,
David said he was gonna share it with them when he spoke with them.
Yeah, he's the one that I said went and talked to Time, H2O.
Well, y'all making the right moves and with the weather cooling down, that helps some too, so. Yeah, well, it does
The
help.
cooler, the cooler the water, cooler the weather, the
Great addition.
less of a problem. Like you mentioned something about covering.
It's less algae bloom in the winter, so there's less organics in the water.
I know because there's out in one of the subdivisions here in the city, they have a lake. And it's so overgrown that it's killing the fish, everything else. And so thinking, and there's some way to, I know what they've even contacted A&M to see about coming in and, cleaning it out or something like that. But the problem is, because it's hot here. Fortunately, it's been a little bit cooler the last week or so, which has been good. But
I've enjoyed it.
I hate to think if someone asks about any impurities or whatever in the water that's creating a problem, I just, that's one of those things you just sort of, I don't want to talk about. I know we have to, but.
Feel like all your equipment is up to standard, everything's functioning well, don't need anything repaired or replaced.
Well, we're in the process right now of rehabbing all the sand filters. I finished filter 5. We're putting in brand new air scour and all new media. So it's a multimedia filter. Anthracite and sand.
Moving water like they should.
To moving water, we got brand new pumps on the intake. We have brand new motors on our flocculators. This winter, we're gonna rehab all the entire flocculator room. There's leakage through the walls. It's just the age of the facility. So take bases down and rehab those. And we're looking at it.
All right. In closing, could we ask y'all to maybe come back in a couple of months, maybe our December or January meeting to give us an update, starting with what's going on and the new results and see if we see how much improvement we've made.
Be happy to.
Right.
Okay, so after operating it for a year now, do you see any major equipment issues that you're gonna have to deal with, like 3 or 4 years down the road that are gonna be, quite expensive, like underground pipes, rusting out and near the end of their life? I mean, have you, any evidence of anything major, or is it just?
I think I really that has been let out for bid now.
Okay,
So that's still thing is fixing to get rehab. So that's gonna get.
that's the big
Good idea. So, $1,000,000
concrete and
Orange tank.
most of the major
Very
structures.
We're not looking at anything major right now.
balances.
There is some plans going forward. They'll get around to working through, but
You're gonna do.
Looks like we made a good decision going this route.
Get that in on the very end.
All right.
And Tim, to answer your
Water was
asked earlier,
around.
going back all the way to 2014, we've never seen numbers as high as we have now.
Yeah. Something upstream has changed.
It's
I don't even know.
that's water coming in, washing out the fields.
With that,
And there's so many different variables.
Block the sunlight.
oh, yeah.
San Antonio putting all their.
Oh, there's too many people talking.
No.
Surface water definitely has its own unique challenges.
Mhm.
Well water can also be high in TTHMs. We see that in some of our Houston locations. So.
well, I didn't know. I have no idea. I'm just curious.
Speculate.
Yes.
Is there any kind of filtering system that can be put in before it gets to the planting system? Some ahead of the plant.
Not that I'm aware of. There's several different types of filtration systems out there. What we have now with the multimedia filter is a very good one for this type of treatment. So my hope is that once we get these filters rehabbed like they're supposed to be, we'll notice pretty good. And what we've tried to do is get everything done within the current CT study that we can do without having to go through and get, all the testing and everything done through the TCEQ. But since that CT study has begun now, we're going to have more options open to us once we get those. So you're limited as what you can do. If you have.
Thank you. And Daryl Keaton for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Al.
Like to have you back in the near future.
Yeah, you bet. And I answered some of your questions too, so I'll make sure that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I gave all.
So. Going around.
I like saw us dumping something in the river.
Thing didn't help either.
You know, there you want us.
We're using more water instead. More waters.
All right, we'll move on then. Agenda item number 2. Receive presentation from Enterprise on vehicle lease program.
And we've got Anastasia Maples with us tonight, and she's gonna kind of give us an update on where we're at in our vehicle lease program and what we're looking ahead.
That's kind of the bearing the lead, but the gist of it is we're to the point now where you and your office can start letting go a little bit and we're really over the hump. So I want to start by saying thank you all so much for inviting me here this evening. This is one of my favorite things to see. It's not what we're doing, it's the why we're doing it. And while we're kind of keeping the train rolling, my goal for my government entities is to basically do what I do so y'all can do what you do. I've been with Enterprise for 13 years. Prior to this, I actually sold cars well before I ever financed one myself. So I've been in the automotive industry for most of my life. And the last 2 years have been the most challenging that I have ever seen, which thank y'all for being patient on that journey with us. I'm going to kind of walk y'all through where we started, where we are at today and how we got there with a little bit of what we're doing and what our goal is. So we'll tap whenever we go on. Ultimately, what we tell everyone is we are cradle to the grave. If you have a fleet of vehicles, from the minute that you are planning to get more vehicles, you are actually going to start acquisition. Then you're going to have resale. Everything goes on. Finance lines, fuel programs. We think of everything from start to finish that could come up while you have a vehicle, and then we have a solution for you. The short version of this, because I told Councilman that I would keep it a little brief this evening, is we have y'all on the program that our rental branches are using. The maintenance program that you have is what my work vehicle is on. The fuel program that we recommend is the fuel program we use at our branches. The beautiful thing about the government structure is that no one buys cheaper than you. But once you buy it cheaper and you hang on to it for a decade, what do you do with it then? So our goal is to create effective vehicle life cycle. For y'all, that means that your low mileage patterns and the fact that you're not driving all over Tarnation makes you a prime candidate for us to sell those vehicles. And I know that from a government clients, it takes a really long time to steer that ship because we go from what we refer to as buy and hold, where you take your tax dollars, you now own it, it's depreciated, through its life, and then it deteriorates. Well, what if we take that and instead you buy it cheaper, you run it a couple of years to make it a used vehicle, and then I go to sell that to people. They're going to get a great price on it. They're going to buy it at MSRP, but we bought that below MSRP. And every penny that we net back goes to your pockets. And so as we're going through this program, we're able to continue to drive costs down by basically just saying, use it for the best parts. And then once you start to have increased maintenance, once you start to have decreased fuel economy, let it go be a loved vehicle for someone else. You don't have to finance the entirety of it. We keep you on warranty. We keep you on a maintenance program that is fixed and budgeted. And the goal is ultimately everything is now going to be capital. We are almost fully implemented, but by the time we are in, we should know within, I'd say about $5,000 every year, what our fleet cost should be, barring, y'all pretty close to the coast. So every once in a while there's a little scare, but other than that, the entirety is capital budget. Here's what we're spending for the year. And that way y'all can start to peel some of that money back towards programs that you need. We call it an internal replacement fund. And by keeping the money in the fleet within it, your general is able to do what it needs to do. I was just speaking with Chief Reyes and he was mentioning that he might be a little short on some radio funds. One of the first things I thought is, here's so I can move money around to still follow all of our government requirements and then make the ends meet where that fund might be short. I've got plenty of money within the fleet to cover that, bill it on the vehicle when it's delivered, And now we don't have to worry about being short these radios, and your people get what they need. So this is the shortest pictograph I can find, and it's ultimately as your vehicle starts to depreciate and becomes worth less, not worthless, but just worth less. We want to run it until that point where this is the perfect time. It's going to start to get higher maintenance costs, higher fuel costs. And at that point, you're putting too much into keeping it going. So our goal is pull it out, sell it, replace it. For example, when you go to rental locations, there's a reason vehicles tend to be below 40,000 miles, 50,000 miles. We know that on a gas unit, the closer you get to 100,000, the higher your maintenance costs are going to be. Now, is that feasible for us as individuals? And would I go to your homes and tell you that you should go out and do this? It doesn't work that way because you can't buy as cheap as a government entity can buy, and you can't sell as well as enterprise can sell. So we're in this unique situation specifically because of what y'all do and what we do. And this is our fastest growing sector across all of our company. This is a quick example. This isn't a specific from one of your lease terms, but this is part of where we help to make those ends meet right off the bat. Traditionally, if you would go out to buy a vehicle, this is obviously a little huge slide. So we're going to call this a Nissan Sentra because that'll be about $30,000 these days. Rather than paying a full $30,000 for that vehicle and then basically waiting until that vehicle can no longer be operated, we're going to say, what if you only finance 20? We're only going to charge you 20 of this. When we sell it, you'll owe 10, but we're going to depreciate this vehicle. We are going to help you run it as inexpensively as possible. And we're going to sell it for typically 10 to 15% above fair market value to recapture those funds. And part of my role with your team is making sure that if I think this is our break even, I have a solid buffer because as we all know, the government budget can be under, it can never, ever, ever be over. So part of my role is ensuring that I have those safeguards in place. If there is an instance where we have too many vehicles, we're always in an equity position and we won't have penalties of what if we turn it in sooner. If your needs change, the program grows, changes, shrinks with you. So by financing only what we need on those vehicles and shirking that traditional cash outlay, we're able to keep some of that money back in y'all's pockets so you can use it for your community. Now, this is an industry update from when our partnership first started. And I'm not going to go into each of these individually, but you will see that every single one of them has gone up by quite a lot. The most expensive increase I'll touch on is maintenance because both acquisition and remarketing are starting to kind of right size. On those maintenance expenses from December 21, when we began our partnership, average cost has gone up 37%. In the greater San Antonio area, a labor hour right now is $201. In Dallas, it's about $280. That money's not necessarily going to the people who are doing the repairs. It's not necessarily going to those mechanics. Does that mean costs have gone away? No. So by keeping our maintenance program, when you receive a vehicle, we have decided based on what that department's use is, this many miles, this many years, our cheap costs. This is about what you should pay. This is your monthly rate. You never pay over that. If there is a large repair, if there is a critical failure, as long as maintenance has been happening, we foot that bill. There is minimal risk, solid budget, lots of reward on that. And I can tell you that I'm very glad that I'm not the person whose checkbook that comes out because it's not always the best thing for us, but it is an amazing thing for my clients. With regard to acquisition and remarketing, I know y'all all seen how prices just skyrocketed. We were able to offset a lot of those because the resale market was so strong. So while it, a vehicle may have cost 23% more brand new, because you couldn't get used vehicles, they now went through the roof. One of the things I'll be showing y'all today is an example of why I'm going to be selling some of your trucks a little early, but it's because I can actually save y'all a good chunk of change in your budget just by using the money that we already have in that internal replacement fund. So here was an example of why I have a job, we'll say. In the pandemic, whenever vehicle inventory challenges started, it went from where are we going to find a vehicle? How are we going to find a vehicle? It is now $15,000 more than what we thought it should be. How will we pay for that? What will we do? You can see the inventory challenges that follow here. And it's not so much the numbers. It's not so much the actual weeks. It's the chaos that I wanted to really highlight for y'all. Because without partnering with EFM, this would have been your job to figure out. And instead, it got to be mine. And the great thing about it was, that this is, we've been here about 2 years now, but when we were struggling to find vehicles, your team held me to account and said, we've got dealers down here. We partner with you for a reason. What can you do for us? And I hopped too, because I know that value is my role. So when I show y'all things like this, my job is to basically say, I'm thinking of this, I'm keeping this in mind. I will kind of monitor this so that I can come to y'all with just the high level and you don't have to be stuck in the resale market or where are we going to get vehicles that are stuck on freight shipping from Turkey. So this is kind of where I come in and use our industry expertise to make sure that you don't have to stress on these things and we can come to you with solutions. So here's where we started. And this was kind of the easiest way. I'll send over the presentation from when we first closed, but I wanted to really just give an easy, here's where the numbers were. On average, they're about 35 units. Now, this is from what was originally turned in. So there might have been some units that were straggling, but this was just kind of where we started. The total fleet value based on those 35 units was only $120,000. So if at the time that we met, we sold every single one of those, we would barely have made 120,000. And that's assuming they were perfect condition, which vehicles that are as aged as those typically aren't. We had 16 different vehicle classes. And so that's just a lot. It's a lot of inconsistency when it comes to branding. Things I'm very mindful of are, do we look whole? Can we find ways to lower costs, but find that brand integrity and that unity within our fleet? Our average maintenance expense was $63,000, which is really not too bad for the age of the fleet at the time. Really, those low mileage patterns contributed to keeping those costs low. So I was very impressed to see that number considering the fleet health whenever we took over. The average monthly maintenance by unit was $162. And again, most of us would be very happy to have $160. That's all we had to pay for our vehicle. But on that annual fuel expense, great low numbers as well. But you'll note that your average miles per gallon were only 10 and your average annual miles were only 8,100. Now, as far as vehicle concerns, this is just things that happen with modernizing a fleet. When we took partnership, there were 2 vehicles within your fleet that actually did not have anti-lock brakes. There were 7 that did not have electronic stability control, which is the safest thing since the invention of the seatbelt. It's basically, it's the pause attraction from my cousin Vinny. So it keeps all 4 of your vehicles on at the same time. And to have vehicles in your fleet that are operating in that way, it's not only a liability to your people, but it's a liability to the people in the greater sense. And then on that, there were 29 units that actually predated the standardization of backup cameras. So there's a lot to consider whenever we think as an individual consumer, it's a good truck. It's 8 years old, it's X, Y, and Z. When we start to look at it from an entity, a business entity, a brand perspective, this is really where you have to be a little more shrewd than we might be if it was something that we would go and purchase on our own. That's not to say that we are not mindful of pennies. That is my job. I'm very, very grateful that my mother taught me how to shop by ounce because it's very helpful these days in our grocery shopping, but it's also basically my job. I take all of these numbers and I figure out based on the number of miles you drive, what are we paying cents per mile? And then I'll come in and show how can we show some savings. So if we go to the next one, in the time that we've been partnered, I've taken 33 total delivered vehicles. Now you'll note that might not reflect the size of your fleet. And that's because some of those units have been what we call early cycled. We took delivery and then sold them to pull some of that money to move back to your internal fund. So of that, those 33 units, 114,000 of that was government incentives. We basically said, thank you to the manufacturers. They gave us the incentives. When enterprise sells your vehicles, that's money back to you. And we sell it 10 to 12%. So just keep in mind that we're also leveraging that money to be able to get more back than we're anticipating. As far as units sold, there are 24. We do handle the resale and we can do whatever portion it is. One thing that I really love is to keep business where possible. I just think it's one of the best things. So as we're working through vehicles, we're looking at things that we might be able to move around versus how can we get returns back on those units that might be the best funds. So y'all have the flexibility if you'd like to sell them yourselves, if you'd like to still sell them through web deals, you're able to do that. If you'd like to see the highest bid, you're able to do that. And I'll come pick up anything that's still here. So you always have a fail safe. My goal would be for you to not have to take the time, but it's always worth it if it means there's value to your community. One of the other additions that we made was the telematics program through Geotab. The short answer of this is these are connected to the vehicle. You know physically where your asset is. We are not tracking humans, we are not tracking people, we are tracking government property. So it's already got its own tracker in it. We know physically where that vehicle is. We know what the mileage is every day at midnight. So we know exactly how fresh it is. That information is actually what triggers all of your maintenance updates. So the system is done so that it sends that info. Our system tells your departments, it's time to go get this done. And we handle making sure those reminders come in so that you don't have to keep track of these things. With driver safety data, it's all stored on a database. And one of the things I'm excited to roll out this year is getting access to your team at a more general level, to be able to see where your people are, tracking the vehicle, knowing whether or not they're speeding, knowing whether or not there's harsh braking and something. For liability purposes, it's a really great tool, and Geotab is a Sourcewell partner. So we were able to get those on a far decreased price from what the general public pays. However, we are also able to move now. There's physical device has to be plugged in, they can come out. I'm also excited to roll out this year that we will now be tracking directly from the engine. So at this point, if we lost connectivity with one of your vehicles, it would be because that engine has been physically removed. And at that point, we're just going to call it a loss. So the thing I'm most excited about that is it is able to give us live action info from your engine, and our National Service Department can actually read the codes on that. So if we're throwing codes for things, we don't have to go through a lot of diagnostics. If it's a matter of, is this safe, is this not? We've got more technology in place to give us the information we need. Pardon me. And then our maintenance programs, the piece that is most helpful is that someone else is checking to see if this maintenance is warranted. Someone else is checking to see when was the last time that tire was changed? What's my mileage since then? Which shop did they go to last? Was this filter put in correctly? Our ASE certified technicians, it is nationwide. They are who goes through fine tooth comb to make sure we are not over maintaining vehicles. If we are able to push things back through warranty, that is the team that I go to. If they're saying that somehow there's rust in a vehicle that's 3 months old, I'm going to push back. How do we get rust in here? Should this be something that the manufacturer pays? They'll say, you know what? And I love it because they're dog's bone, just want to dig in. So they'll take that. It's their job to fight that. I don't even have to do it. So someone oversees to make sure that you don't pay a penny more than what you should for your maintenance, that we are not doing anything other than what's absolutely required, but that we're always making sure to maintain at the highest level.
Where are these ASE technicians located?
They're all over the country. We're actually, they're all going to be virtual. But if you want to call, like it's a 1-800 number and you can call in, I can give you some of your repair orders, if y'all want to like really dig in.
So I don't know what shop these vehicles go to, but do they call into the shop?
Yes, so y'all's shops are actually, I know we use dipsticks, we've got Firestones, the dealers in the area. Basically every dealer between here and Victoria, any quick lube that we've got between here and Victoria, we want on this program. They are already agreeing to our negotiated pricing. When your team takes the vehicle in for maintenance, they say, this is an enterprise unit. The person says, thank you so much. They will do a 10-point inspection. If I go in and tell them I need an oil change, they'll say, okay, great. But let's see if there's anything else. Not in a, let's see if there's anything else, in a, we need to check to make sure that's not all. Because my company doesn't rely on me to determine if my vehicle is safe to drive. They rely on me to get my oil changes. So that's all I have to do to make sure that that safety piece is being watched by someone other than me, but it's always being watched. So with that, there's no repair that is approved without their oversight. If there is going to be a charge that would come to the city out of pocket, this would be something, say, contaminated fuel. If somebody puts diesel in a DEF, which unfortunately happens, but our maintenance program doesn't cover oopsies. It does cover the entirety of the vehicle of what's scheduled, but for something like that, we're able to take a look at everything. We can let you know what station that contaminated fuel came from, figure out if you might be able to clean that. If nothing else, maybe find out so that no one else has to go through that experience. But if it comes down to this is what the charge will be, it's something that we discussed with you. It's well known, but to date, we have not had a single incident of a major cost outside. Actually, we had an incident of a vendor that didn't do upfit in the best way possible, not incorrectly, but could have been better. And y'all were having some issues with flights. Y'all took it into the dealer and your team very diligently made sure to get that done. And I said, oh, that shouldn't be all. This upfit vendor should pay that. And so I reached out to the National Service Department and it was about an $800 bill. And I just let your team know, we'll get this sorted out, and we got that covered. And we're able to tell basically credit it back to your invoice, and they paid us directly. So we took care of that right off the bat because that vehicle shouldn't have been delivered in that condition, sir. So now that we're here, side by side, at the end of fiscal year 24, we are at 45 total units, and our average fleet value is $1.4 million. Now that is, if we were to sell everything, that is what it's valued at. That doesn't take into consideration any of those reduced book values. But again, you are in a very positive equity position. And if we were to liquidate this, I would have quite a good chunk of change to get you guys back if God needed to. As far as different vehicle classes, we've tightened that up. We're now down to 9. We're really determining what vehicle is right for the job. Is this going to be the correct haul? Is it going to be overkill? Can we switch to a gas engine where possible? Things like that where we can right type, because now that we can get what we want, this is the time to find out how inexpensively we can get that done. Our average maintenance expense, this is a combination of what the city has paid on owned units and the enterprise units while we're in kind of this flux. But when you take the total average cost, the enterprise full maintenance program is driving that average monthly maintenance down to about 140. So per unit per month, we're saving about $22 on average. And after this next round, we will only have about 10 vehicles left to get fully under program. So by this time next year, I will be giving you guys projections of our fully implemented fiscal year 26. And I can't wait for that. Our annual fuel expense here, this is $126,000. However, we have increased our mileage patterns and increased our units. So when you see things like that, it's very easy for your eye to catch that it looks like it's substantially more. However, it is actually 10 more units over 12 months. And they're all driving on average almost 5,000 miles more. So yes, we're spending a little more on fuel, but we're also moving a lot more. And your city has gotten a lot more life pushed back into it since 2021 December. So now that we're on the other side of the pandemic and everything is normal and it's all glowing, the numbers are looking great. And see one more. And here is kind of where we're at for going into that fiscal year 25. So for GM order banks, they are currently open. Your team's already got quotes in place for us to be able to start looking and placing these. We hope to have them in before the end of this calendar year, once placed, if we can get them in the month of September. There are 16 vehicles that are identified for cycling. You'll notice I didn't say city-owned vehicles, or I didn't say units to replace. We call it cycling when we are rotating the vehicle out, because the goal is to use it for greater fleet purposes. So there's a lot of jargon we use, but that's one of those things where it's not we're gonna get rid of the city vehicle, it's we're cycling the units because it's a bigger plan, and I've got an example for that. So of those 16 units, we're gonna use $185,000 that are already within those vehicles to help offset some of those costs and take care of your down payments. And we are targeting 100% implementation of the program by the end of fiscal year 25. I say it that way because we place the orders at the tail end of the fiscal year to arrive in the following, which is always very concerning, but if it doesn't fit in your budget, then you don't end up taking it. So don't ever get nervous about that.
So back on the number, so I guess I'm not sure if I understand the units in the program in city vehicles, but before we started with you, we had 35 vehicles and now we have 45. So we've actually increased the number of vehicles by 10.
We've increased the number of vehicles by 10. There are still some units that are in there that we're waiting to turn in that were being utilized that have already been replaced. They're kind of being hoarded, I guess is the best way to say it, as they're coming to the end of their life with y'all. So right now, that's going to be our average. Anytime I use a fleet number, it will be a 12-month average because it's more about the entirety of the fleet versus necessarily a 1-month influx.
We're gonna work back down closer to 35.
For example, say for example, all 16 of these orders come in the same month, you would have that influx. Well, we're not sending somebody to come scoop up the old units right off the bat. We want you to transition. We want you to get comfortable. They need insurance. They need to be input as city assets. So you have that time to move your things over, get kind of moved out of it. Once you're done with it, we'll come pick it up and move it. So there would be times where maybe that month you're double, but it averages out throughout the year.
So what number are we targeting when we're in full cycle?
I believe after we pull these out, some of them are still in that have already been replaced. I believe after we pull these out, 39 will be the total number.
What will be?
39.
39, okay.
Now, with regard to operational goals, This is going to be implementing that deviceless geotab program. Also, the department heads are going to start taking a little bit more insight into that. We've already discussed that. We've got them set up on the website so that they can see their department and what concerns them, but they don't have to have oversight into anyone else's. Your team here at City Hall will be able to have access to everything. Other than that, departments will start taking over a little bit more ownership of their own fleet. Now, WEX fuel card is something I'd like to discuss. I know that y'all are currently on, it's Fuel Man.
We're a part of a state of Texas fuel program, and we have been for quite some time. So, and unfortunately, they bid out, I believe, every 2 years, and it just so happens that Voyager always wins, not WEX. So.
Now, WEX is, they are Sourcewell approved, so we can use them through the Sourcewell buy board, but I actually called them last week to get confirmation on that. It's something I want to explore. If so, there's benefits to it. If you'll hear more on that, if we end up going that route, we'll somebody get approved from you find something. But it's something that I'd like to look at to see, is there a way that we can connect both your fuel program and the vehicle and a point where if fuel is being pumped, we know what then it's being physically put into. How many gallons are pumped into the vehicle, how many gallons were available. No one likes to think about fuel theft, but it is a shrinkage that happens often. So this would just be a way to be able to tighten up that cost.
So you think? Don't say if there is, but there's a chance right now that there could be some fuel there.
I can tell you that I have worked for Enterprise for 13 years and it shocks me. It shocks me how creative people can get for things like that. I personally never loved thinking that people would do that, but I also know that
I was kind of in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, you know, maybe, but I don't believe our folks are doing that. Fuel cost, the price of a gallon might have some, I think probably if you average the gasoline we bought in the previous graph, may have been a little bit cheaper than.
Yes, that was yes, that was at $2 a gallon, and we like gas inexpensive, but this is Texas, so we don't want that cheap. But whenever we're looking at things like that, that's exactly what my job is to come in and we'll do y'all's annual review, kind of piggybacking off this. I'll meet with your team to close out.
This is going to be an annual update.
I can do this quarterly if you'd like. I can come whenever y'all want, but I can give y'all your annual update that I would normally bring with Miss Jody and Miss Brittany and Sarianne. We can do that with council if y'all would like. I mean, I very much like for y'all to be informed of what's going on and why, because I take my stewardship seriously, but I also don't want there to be an entire year where you didn't really know, what was that again? How did we end up getting there? I'd like for y'all to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and that I'm taking care of it.
Yeah, and we're just now finally getting the point we are kind of doing what
Flourishing is, we're now, as we were on our training wheels.
Yeah.
And now we get to,
There's a pattern developed.
yes, and it's just now that vehicle availability is getting better, we're gonna be moving and shaking a little bit more. And I wanted to show y'all this because it's a proof in the pudding example of this is the kind of crazy that I've been saying. So we've got these 9 total units. It might be 11 because Chief right now just said he might want some half tons too. But these are 9 units, 6 of them released, 3 are owned by the city. Whenever I look at those units, I can tell that I've got $3,400 in incentive on its replacement. From the entirety of those 6 leased units, plus your 3 owned units, I can average that out and put $10,000 as a down payment on each new vehicle. So without the city coming out of pocket for a penny on that, I'm gonna find $90,000 within the trucks you've already got, that I've already got on lease to you. Now, when you combine your maintenance costs monthly plus your lease costs, and then you subtract the remainder, which is that $7,315, your new payments on all of those vehicles are also going to be, that price includes your maintenance. So when we take into account what you're paying on those current leases without that extra equity, your current maintenance, but then I subtract that equity and those incentives, I'm going to end up saving $35,000 to actually add 3 units to your fleet. I know that's the face that most people make, but that's why I wanted to show you this one, because it's ultimately, I figure out how much I can get if I sell this, how much cheaper I can get this, if I put it all in what I will refer to as my general fund and then delegate it back out, what can I do with that money? The fact that y'all don't pay taxes makes it a lot easier. The fact that we have those incentives also makes it very, very simple. So I have a lot more flexibility in the government space than I do with all of my commercial clients. That is all that I brought for y'all tonight. I want to open it for questions, but I want to be mindful of y'all's time. So you have me as long as you need.
You mentioned to me earlier that Fredericksburg has a similar program, but they're a little bit ahead of us.
Well, I wouldn't say ahead, I would say at different starting points, but yes, I actually, city of Fredericksburg, city of Kerrville, city of Bernie, the city of San Antonio, I've been eyeing them for quite a while, but they're a bit hard to kind of track down the right person there. But the county of Oasis is a client with us, the city of Victoria. We recently met with Guero, so we're moving into that government space, and a lot of the reason that that's a possibility for us is because costs have gone up so much in vehicles, whether it's your aftermarket, it's the upfront cost of acquisition, even that maintenance cost increasing. They've just gone up so much that with government, it becomes one of those, we really need some help. We don't want to have to raise taxes. We don't want to have to make changes on things. Where can we make those ends meet within what we've already got working? So we've got a lot of opportunity in government space to help with that. And I'm taking it very seriously that I need to help offset some of those rising costs from the last.
Do any of those cities use the WEX fuel card program?
Oh, yes. If y'all would like to do a WEX program, a rollout, I would actually be able to bring one of us who's our WEX representative with the program. Discussion, I also asked him about it. He mentioned that you can do a side-by-side comparison if you'd like to see that.
Yes, I think that I have to go back and look through my emails. I know that I talked with the rep for the state of Texas program, and I think there's a little bit of a caveat, but I have to go and look to see what contract.
And my job is always consultative. If I come to y'all and I say, this is 100% what I would do, and I'll say, thank you so much. The door's right there. That's your prerogative. I am just here to come and tell you what the numbers tell me, what our industry is doing, what enterprise would do in this situation. This is 100% the city's program. I'm just here to help you guys figure out how to make the best steps. And then, for example, when we get creative with things, we might be able to help you guys with other goals outside.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much.
But you got a chance to review all those numbers, right?
I actually gave her the fuel amount and the vehicles and trailers maintenance. But actually too, I'm thinking about the fuel number. That number also includes the fuel that the money that we spend on the fuel for our equipment as well. So, but I mean, we do have fuel cards for pieces of equipment.
And I can get you guys kind of a truncated version of this to close out fiscal year 24 to give you an overview of what side by side what those numbers are.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Right. Rush it, but we do need to move on. Move to, okay, you're starting early.
Agenda item number 3, consider request to County Fair Association for parade permit and traffic control systems on Saturday, October 12th, 2024, beginning at 10 a.m. The parade route will be from Pancras Stadium, San Fabian, North Virginia, Main Street, and ending at the Bayfront Peninsula. Also, request waiver of any fees associated with the event.
So moved.
Second.
Did you get all that, man?
We do this every year.
Say aye. At the same time. Opposed, motion passes.
Amanda, thank you.
Yes. I know you've been waiting all this time. You really didn't have to.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, move to agenda item number 4, consider request of Our Lady of 12th Catholic Church for a parade permit, traffic control assistance for the Marian Rosary Procession Parade on Sunday, October 13th, 2024, beginning at 5 p.m. And also a request for a waiver of any fees associated with the event.
So moved.
Second. Get them, Mandy? Motion and a second approving the request of Our Lady of the Gulf Catholic Church for parade permit as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Opposed, motion passes. Agenda item number 5, consider request of Our Lady of the Gulf Catholic Church for a parade permit and traffic control for their annual Christ the King Eucharist procession parade on Sunday, November 2024, beginning at 6 p.m. and also a request for waiver of any fees associated with the event.
So move.
Second. We have a motion and a second approving the request of Our Lady of the Gulf Catholic Church for parade permit for the annual Christ the King Eucharist procession parade as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Opposed, motion passes. All right, now we move to our public hearings. Item 7:40, we will conduct a public hearing on the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget. Will announce that the hearing is now open. Brittany, is there anything you want?
I'll just add that in accordance with the Texas Property Tax Code, the Texas Truth and Taxation Rules, the local government code, and the city's charter, the city is required to hold a public hearing on the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. On August 19th, 2024, council voted to set this public hearing on the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for today, September 9th, 2024. Because the proposed tax rate exceeded the no new revenue rate, legislation considers it a tax increase and requires special language to accompany the notice of public hearing on the budget. The city has complied with the governing legislation and has published the notice of public hearing for the budget in the newspaper of general circulation, which is the Port Lavaca Wave, and on the city's website. This public hearing will provide an opportunity for taxpayers to express their views on the city's 2024-2025 annual budget. Only one public hearing is required and satisfies the requirements for a later vote on the ordinance adopting the annual budget. No action is required.
Yeah. Any comments from the public? Budget? From council?
Nope. Move we accept it.
This is just
We're in a public hearing, I'm just waiting for comment.
Whatever.
support. Your
Support.
Yeah, support. Yes, absolutely.
Hearing, there is no one here to comment. Council has no comments other than Jim Ward. We will close the public hearing at 7:42 p.m. and move on to agenda item number 7. Is to conduct a public hearing on the 2024 proposed 2024 tax rate. Time is 7:43. We will open the public hearing. Brittany, is there anything you want to add on the tax rates?
Just like with the budget, in accordance with the property tax code, truth and taxation rules, local government code, and the city's charter, the city is required to hold a public hearing on the 2024 tax rate. On August 19th, 2024, the council took a record vote to propose a tax rate of 0.80000, which is greater than the previous year's tax rate to be levied on properties within the city. Because the proposed tax rate exceeds the no new revenue rate, legislation considers it a tax increase and requires a public hearing. The council set the date and time for a public hearing on the tax rate for September 9th, 2024. This public hearing will provide an opportunity for taxpayers to express their views on the tax increase as defined by legislation. Only one public hearing is required and satisfies the requirements for a later vote on the ordinance establishing a tax rate. No action required. Except in the meetings.
Action taken.
The no new revenue tax rate does not take into consideration the bond issue that is considered new revenue. It's considered in the calculation for the no new revenue.
That's in consideration for the debt rate.
So we increase the taxes to cover the bond, but that also
Yes.
brings us new revenue.
To spend on the bond.
Spend on the bond, correct. Any other comments from council? Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on the tax rate? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:45 PM. And move on to agenda item number 8, consider a new job description for assistant to the harbor master. Jody?
As discussed at the recent budget workshop, we're proposing to add the position of executive assistant to the harbor master. Copy of the proposed job description is attached as part of your packet. The addition of this position will allow Rachel to concentrate on her duties as the HR coordinator, as well as function as the executive assistant as needed. This position will function as a secretary for the Port Commission, setting up and attending all meetings, taking minutes, preparing minutes for approval, keeping up with all leases and other payments owed to the city from ports and harbors properties, applying municipal cost index and other utility increases when due for the various leases. This position will function as an assistant to the harbor master, operating in mostly office environment, assisting in purchasing and procurement, preparing draft lease documents, correspondence record keeping and filing and organizing historical records of the Port Commission. We are proposing this position with a pay grade of 36, which is a minimum of 38,121.55 and a maximum of 51,464.09. Other positions in this grade are administrative assistant, code enforcement officer, records clerk, utilities operator. Recommending approval of the addition of one new position, being the executive assistant to the harbor master with the job description as presented.
I guess I had one comment on the job description. In the third paragraph, you said keeping up of the background. It says keeping up with all lease and other payments owed to the city. To me, that is the essential thing that this position's doing. I would like that in the job description.
Okay, under
We're under essential functions, because to me, the essential function is
Okay.
keeping up with all lease and other payments of the city and resolving any payment issues. That's
yes,
that should be the first.
okay, I got you.
Okay.
That where this,
I mean, it can be anywhere in that bullet list, but
okay. We can add that in there.
Suppose we accept it.
Approve the new position with the change in the job description as.
I have a question. Where's these monies coming from?
Ports and harbors.
What?
Ports and harbors. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
That was your motion, Jim?
Yes.
Motion to approve the new position with the changes, made the description by Councilman Ben.
Repeat that, those changes, please.
It is.
It was the essential function of the harbor master.
yeah. So the only, so take
Payments.
circle and then say and resolve.
Yeah, which as
Is this-
his assistant, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I was. The wrong question.
What was it?
When Jim was doing it, he was 7 days a week.
I don't want anybody working 7 days a week.
But that's what this position will be tasked with. Correspondence and key
Because he's working long days. Sometimes he's working.
No, I'm not
Just to get stuff done.
saying anything with Jim.
Okay, anybody want to say? We let it die for a second.
Wait a second.
We need a second.
Second.
Give us a second.
1001.
We got it right in the changes.
Second.
Chip it. Second.
Thank you.
Motion and a second approving the new position for assistant to the harbor master. The changes, the essential functions as presented by Councilman. Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Opposed, motion passes. Right, we'll move to agenda item number 9, consider proposed city compensation plan for 2024-2025 fiscal year. Jody?
As you recall, that we did budget this year to perform, or this coming year, to perform a new third-party salary survey and compensation plan and include a review and update of all job descriptions. Now, staff did perform a review of our current salaries paid, and all full-time positions are being paid at or above the minimum pay recommended in the compensation plan adopted by council last year. The attached in-house salary survey was performed by city staff, which compares the salary range of a few select positions among the comparable cities that were used in the January 2021 compensation plan. This information was gathered from the TML salary survey and/or information received directly from the cities. The only change that we are proposing to the salary structure is the addition of the executive assistant to the harbor master at the grade of 36. We recommend that the council approve the salary structure as presented. And the council approves providing budgeted funds for merit increases for all employees except department heads in the amount of 4% of their total budgeted fiscal year 2023-24 salaries. And for merit increases for department heads, budgeted funds in the amount equal to 2% of their total budgeted FY 2023-24 salaries is provided. The city head count is approved as follows. As of October 1st, 2024, 101 full-time employees, 3.38 part-time FTEs. As of January 1st, after the dispatchers moved to combined dispatch center, it will be 97 full-time employees and 2.01 part-time FTEs. In your packet was attached the salary structure. Post that salary structure affected 10/1 of 2024 and the in-house 2024 salary survey that we performed.
Jody, what was the approved headcount last year? Budget?
It was 100.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the city compensation plan as provided. Noting that you're increasing.
With Alan.
I guess, yeah.
By one?
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to note in the motion that we're noting that we're increasing headcount by one position.
Second that too.
We have a motion and a second to approve the city's compensation plan for the 2024 fiscal year. Noting that the head count increased by 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Opposed, motion passes.
Well, it's good that we're doing the formal ones on a more routine basis now. So it took a long time to get to that point. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Fun parts. And item number 10, consider the first reading of an ordinance S-2-24 approving the annual budget for the city of Port Lavaca and adopting the budget document for the fiscal year October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. Brittany?
Mayor, council, on July 22nd and August 19th, 2024, the council held budget workshops to review recommendations from the city manager for the FY 2024-2025 budget. Proposed budget was filed with the city secretary and published on the city's website on August 8th. The city published a notice of the public hearing on the budget in the newspaper of general circulation on August 28th, 2024, and posted the same notice on the city's website. The budget, with the changes recommended by city council in the August 19th, 2024 workshop, is recommended for the city council's approval and contains combined revenues of $24,862,058, followed by combined expenditures of $24,104,165, leaving combined fund balance reserves of $12,496,442. The ordinance to adopt the budget contains authorization as prescribed in the city charter, section 8.03, for the city manager to transfer any unencumbered appropriation balance or portion thereof between general classifications of expenditures within an office, department, or agency. Legislation does require specific language on the vote to adopt the budget, only that it must be a record vote. Staff provides a recommended motion as follows.
Move to adopt. The
Wait, I think that's who's gonna do it.
oh,
Okay,
okay, I'm sorry, just.
This one's special.
I'm gonna go ahead and move to adopt the FY 2024-25 annual budget as presented by the city manager.
Second.
It's just one.
Motion and a second, adopting the first reading of the ordinance S-2-24, approving the annual city budget
Okay.
as presented. And we need a record vote, so we'll begin with Justin.
Aye.
Rosie Padron, aye.
Tim Dan, aye.
Second. Whatever.
Aye.
Aye. Oh. Oh, okay, aye. That's right, we have to all, each one of us has to say it.
Alan Tibbet, aye.
Daniel, aye.
Okay, so we have 6 ayes and 0 nays. Motion carries. The first reading of ordinance S-24, S-2-20. Budget for the city of Port Lavaca passes.
I love how it's pre-populated.
I vote against it on the second reading.
Vote against it. Somebody just, I mean, I guess the package printed on Friday is different than this package.
What?
The numbers on the package that we got on Friday are different, just FYI.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
So I had updated literally just this morning, the numbers from what I had changed on Friday.
Okay.
And then I just gave it to Mandy to see. So.
Very up to date.
Moving along.
All right, let's move to agenda item number 11. Consider first reading of ordinance S-3-24, fixing the tax rate and tax levy for the city of Port Lavaca for the 2024, for the year 2024. Brittany?
On August 19th, 2024, the council took a record vote to propose a greater tax rate of 8.8000 as levied on properties at the previous year. Because the proposed tax rate exceeds the no new revenue rate, legislation considers it a tax increase and requires a public hearing. City Council announced a date and time for a public hearing on the tax rate to be held on today's date, September 9th, 2024. Additionally, because the proposed tax rate exceeds the no new revenue rate, additional language is required to be included in the ordinance and requires specific language in the motion to adopt the tax rate as follows.
Justin.
Which also, and then additionally, the tax rate consists of 2 components, each of which must be approved separately as well. Maintenance on operations is 0.6743. Interest in sinking, which is debt, is 0.1257.
So is this gonna be 2 different motions here?
Three.
You're gonna have three.
One at a time.
All right, top.
Term fixing the tax rate sounds a little bit shady.
We need to be fixed at that rate for the rest of the year.
So, okay, I moved the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.8, which is effectively a 4.04% increase in the tax rate. Justin Burke, aye.
Rosie Padron, aye.
Tim Dan, no.
Did we have a second?
No, we didn't have a second.
Second.
Okay, now we start.
Justin Burke, aye.
Rosie Padron, aye. Wait a minute, who seconded?
Yeah.
Lord.
Did everything.
It's going to move it along.
We have to, Tim Dan, no.
Jim, was no.
Jim Ward, aye.
Alan Tibbet, aye.
Daniel, aye.
All right, so 5 ayes and 1 nay. Was,
Go ahead, you got the other part too, right below
All right. The motion carries. It's 5-1.
it.
Okay.
Let's move it, boy.
Okay, so now I'll move to adopt a maintenance and operations rate of 0.6743 cent.
Second it.
We have a motion in the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Oh, this has to be a record vote?
No.
No, these last two don't have to be a record vote.
Opposed? You're none opposed. Motion passes. Next motion.
Okay, and finally, I'll move to adopt an interest and sinking rate of 0.1257.
Second.
Second.
You got it.
You're sectioning her.
What are those
We have a
reflexes?
motion and a second, to adopt the interest and seeking rate of 0.1257. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Opposed, motion. This, at least. You gonna look for this one? Now at agenda item number 12, consider first reading of an ordinance S-4-24 of the city of Port Lavaca regarding compensation of mayor and council members and providing an effective date. Jody?
Mayor, council, as we discussed during the budget workshops, we've discussed the possibility of increasing the compensation for the mayor and each council member by the allowable 10% per fiscal year per the charter. To clarify, after closely reading the charter, if this were to be adopted, it does not go into effect until the commencement of the terms of the mayor and or council members elected at their next regular election. So in reality, if this were to be adopted, the only effect it would have during the next fiscal year would be we'd have two council members for essentially 4 months of next year. And then, in this ordinance, it identifies, shows, when each terms expire, at which time, then this ordinance would go into effect for each of those. In reading through this, I realized today there's actually a sentence that's missing, a little section that's missing that is actually what we would be proposing to do, which if you go through all the whereases, this documents, findings of fact, what facts we're dealing with, but then the decision would be, or the vote would be what you're going to do with that. Are we proposing to increase the compensation for the council to $330 per month and the mayor $660 per month in accordance with the charter? So again, it would not take effect immediately. It doesn't take effect until each person's next term.
That's my fault because I didn't get to review it before it got.
Understand you can't increase your rate during your current term. Because, you sign on for what it is. And so it doesn't take effect till next.
The rates for 3 more years.
Correct. But one thing I did want to point out, that I did, because I think we discussed this in the workshop. I did go back and looked at the municipal cost index in November 2007.
Yes.
When the charter was adopted versus the latest published July 2024. And so there's a factor of 1.59. So again, the $300 that was adopted in November of 2007 is now $477 in today's dollars. And the $600 of November 2007 is $954 in today's dollars. Just setting that out. So this is, there was not a consensus during the workshop. So I said, I would just bring this back. You guys can discuss it and see what you want to do with it.
I don't see anything wrong with it. It's a long time.
All days and night.
We do spend a lot of time. It's like a job.
I think God's saying, don't do it. That's why the mistake.
God is here.
You know, it's
Here.
See it all the time.
it's been that way ever since I've been on the council.
Yes, it has.
Since 2007.
Just 2007.
And I came on in 2010.
It's since the city charter. You read your city charter, you would know.
It's for it to increase in the city charter.
Yes, but
I see nothing wrong with upping it.
well,
Okay.
I just feel
It's
like
not
it-
gonna be a jump. It's not gonna.
Doesn't take effect during your current
You
term.
could be voted out.
Next
I'd like to see the next council member get the benefit of somebody being.
Rosie and I are
proactive,
coming up next
getting them local
year,
money.
right?
no, you're, yeah,
No, you're coming up, no,
I mean, not me. I just feel like, we shouldn't be here for any type of, you should do it because you want your community,
oh, yeah, I'm.
city to flourish and you want to be a part of that. You should. And I know $300 isn't very much and 310 or whatever isn't very much. And it doesn't matter if we had made bukus of money back in 2007 and nothing now. It's still why you should be here. Not let's hurry up and get this over with or, so I ride around all day and I spend money on gas. You knew that coming into it, or you should have known it.
That sounds great.
And
Vote the other way.
Very well said.
I don't think it should be that exactly the people that want it.
Well, entertain a motion and we'll vote on it.
So somebody make a motion
Make a motion.
Make a motion about,
to adopt.
I make a motion, we adopt it.
It's that last sentence, that
We need to clarify we're
increase
by 10%
by 10%.
as in accordance with the.
What was that?
charter.
What was that 1 point whatever?
That was,
That's the whole factor. That was the 1.59. That's the factor between $2007 and 2020.
2009, that doesn't mean we're getting that.
That's not kidding. You're gonna do 10%.
That's just your
$30.
spending like.
Well, that
spending-
$30 more, I'm reelected would be, that's great because I get
That's what.
200 a month from Social Security, so that'd be.
$30.
Ooh.
There you go.
Go out to eat one time.
Take people out. of the way.
Okay, so by 10%.
10%.
I was talking about the 30.
I'll second it.
The ordinance as amended.
As amended with to clarify the 10%.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second approving the first reading of the ordinance S-4-24 regarding compensation of mayor and council members. Increase of 10%
As allowed by the charter.
is allowed. Sorry.
Does it never come up?
Because nobody asked.
Say something.
What?
No one
I
had.
said, I was just wondering why I don't remember.
You didn't bring it up.
I brought it up about 3 years.
Right.
Got
Oh, you
rocks
brought it
thrown-
up 3 years ago.
Yeah, got rocks thrown at.
Okay, now the vote.
All right, so we have Jim on. the
We have a
council at that
motion
time.
and a second, correct?
Yes.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so
It's you.
Jim, you get.
It's you, Jack. You finally get to vote.
Oh, I thought Jim voted nay, okay.
He did the motion.
I
Okay.
heard him yelling during this.
Okay, Bert Padron and Dan was named. Right? Me, yes,
All right, I'm gonna vote.
In favor of the
of course.
motion,
Mhm.
really makes it pass.
For our successors.
Okay,
Oh, here comes the.
Inflation has.
should we put a time limit on our teams?
So that's for the first reading.
First reading, yes.
First reading, we go one more.
I'll vote against the second reading.
All right.
Okay.
It's whatever you want to do. It's not. Financial
This
disaster.
next one is good. I can hear my constituents now. Why'd you put up those stop signs all over Lynn Haven?
All right. In that vein, we'll move to agenda item 13, consider second and final reading of an ordinance D-7-24, City of Port Lavaca, amending the basic traffic control devices ordinance D-6-86, section 3, by adding stop signs in Lynn Haven subdivision, a repeal clause and providing an effective date.
What is the number, 42?
Colin?
42 signs? Oh, there's some great.
It's less than the number of vehicles in our fleet.
I guess this is second reading, or negative.
Make a motion, we accept it.
Second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second approving ordinance G 7 the city of Port Lavaca, amending the basic traffic control devices by adding stop signs in Lynn Haven subdivision as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And none opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Colin. Very good presentation.
Your words are moving.
All right, we move to agenda item number 14, consider second and final reading of an ordinance D 8 the city of Port Lavaca, amending the code of appendix A, fees, rates, and changes. Chapter 50, sections 50 to 62, utilities, water, user rates, residential and commercial, providing an effective date. Jody?
Mayor, council, this is the rate change for the GBRA raw water fee. It has not changed since the first reading. Recommend adoption.
So there's a fee plat and.
Second?
Second.
Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it. This is just the GBRA.
Yeah, it's just, no, it's that, it goes up
$2 per month.
Made the motion, Jim? Alan? Jim?
Jim. So we have a motion and a second approving the second and final reading of the city of Port Lavaca, amending the code of ordinances as stated for water user rates, GBRA residential and commercial rates as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Unopposed, motion passes. Move to item number 15, is the first reading of an ordinance D 9 24 of the city of Port Lavaca, amending the code of ordinances appendix A, fees, rates, and changes. Chapter 54, waterways fees, and providing the day. Jody?
As reported to council in August, myself and Jim Rudla have been working since March, to draft a comprehensive tariff document that covers not just fees, but rules and other regulations and practices of operation of our ports and harbors. Now, we need to take some more time to closely review the language of this proposed tariff document and think through how it will affect existing and new tenants. However, because of the anticipated increase in transient traffic that is expected in the coming months and even years, Port Commission has expressed the need to include in the Chapter 54 waterways rate schedule daily rates to handle any situations of fleeting and mooring and general dockage while we iron out the details of this tariff document. The proposed rates are what the Port commissioners have been discussing as part of the tariff document for several months. I am proposing these rates as part of a first reading to amend the Chapter 54 waterways rates. The commission will meet on September 17th, and the agenda will include a formal vote regarding a recommendation to adopt these rates. The committee and I will continue to work on the tariff document and hope to have it ready and fully reviewed and vetted in the next couple of months. The recommendation is to approve the first reading of an ordinance to change the Appendix A fees, rates, and charges for Chapter 54 waterways to include daily rates for general dockage and fleeting and mooring. That's proposed.
We don't currently.
Which we currently do not have these rates, correct.
So this is if a boat wanders into our harbor.
These are for fleeting, and I did put a definition in here for those that may not be familiar. Fleeting is, if you just, basically it's a parking spot for a boat. Doesn't, could be in open water, or it can be up against a boat that is docked. It could be considered fleeting. And dockage is when you're actually tied up to a dock, or if you're moored to a vessel that's tied up to a dock.
Oh, so this is per day.
These are daily rates, yes. You don't have-
75 or 250.
They charge a vessel, they come and anchor in a harbor and not
Not affect our traffic.
affect our traffic and not be connected to our docks.
If we don't have.
We
And if we have
can
it.
have it. The state allows for us to have a mooring charge, but we don't have one now. So that somebody could park there and wait just shore if they want.
So is this for harbor refuge and city,
This is for all,
everything,
yes,
Harbors.
yes.
Lighthouse Beach when they pull up?
Yeah. Anybody pull-
Well, I mean, if anybody, I mean, that, what's out there right now is a transient
Okay.
dock, but,
We need to.
Probably.
I mean, but right now, it's, yeah.
What's the mechanism? I mean, there's a boat tied up. I mean, how do we even know it's there?
Well, we are in the process of getting a sign that's gonna be placed at the entrance that gives information to contact Jim Rulock.
Okay.
His numbers to notify him that they're in the harbor. As far as bigger ships, we have software now. We subscribe to a service where we can watch these boats coming in and out and can track them, you know. Now the smaller stuff, you know, wouldn't be on that, but again, with the notification to call and then, you know.
But like someone who has a fishing boat that comes into Lighthouse Beach. I mean, they're not there a day. They're there an hour.
And these are basically, I mean, what's under the jurisdiction of the port harbors, which really the boat ramp, Lighthouse Beach is not. Yeah, but everything else is.
So if a sailboat, you know, comes in from Palacios and is on its way down to Corpus, would they pay a docking fee or would they, if they're just here for the?
There is a transient rate, yes, already.
But if coming up to,
Stirred up, won't be much people want to fish here too much.
yeah, but if they come up to Port Boys and get some, they don't get.
No, no.
Tell me what you've been.
It's not 3 a week was the presentation.
Yeah, well, I'll make a motion, we approve the ordinance.
We didn't approve the first reading.
Approve the first reading.
This is the first
You can
reading.
approve the first reading.
I'll second it then, Tim.
Thank you, Alan.
All right, we have a motion and a second approving the first reading of an ordinance G-9-24, City of Port Lavaca, amending the code of ordinances, it's a chapter 54, waterways fee, providing an effective date. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none opposed, motion passes. Wouldn't let me break that time.
No.
All right, we'll move to agenda item number 16, consider rescheduling the regular city council meeting scheduled for Monday, November 11th, 2024, or another date since it falls on a scheduled city holiday, Veterans Day, in accordance with ordinance S-15-07, section 4. Mandy?
Yeah, this happens every once in a while. So y'all just need to tell me, when do y'all want to have that meeting? Usually we do it the following day, which would be on a Tuesday.
And I won't be able to be here, but I can send Dennis, but I have Bay City that day. 18th, so I can do.
18th.
Thanks.
Would that be okay?
Thanksgiving.
Comply with their charter?
Isn't that Thanksgiving?
It's gonna be a special meeting either way.
Yeah, but since we're.
Regular meeting.
Yeah, but it's called a special meeting because it's not on the regular
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the week of Thanksgiving. I think that's not a good date.
18th. I can do.
Let me clarify that although we're calling it a special meeting, but we're establishing it, are we allowed to adopt that's what that means?
No.
So no, we couldn't.
Okay. So let's just meet on November 11th then. Is there a reason we can't meet on November 11th?
It's a city holiday for them.
I mean, it's a city.
11th is a city holiday. It's Veterans Day.
Yeah.
How about if we just make it the
Something I read.
following week?
Well, I mean, is there a reason? I mean, we all work on holidays and weekends, so.
It's. Well, I guess it wasn't on there last year.
The week before?
Well, or we could do it the 25th because that would be the Monday and that would be like that instead of a regular.
Can we do it the week before?
I mean, in any time, it's still, we're still not, it's not gonna be able to adopt any ordinances.
Oh, so, so budget's important to adopt, right?
Well, this is in November, so this.
Oh, this is November, October.
You're gonna be done.
Oh, okay.
Their budget.
So just don't, I guess we won't have any ordinances.
I don't know if y'all would consider the 13th, which is a Wednesday.
I'd prefer the 13th personally.
Let's go with what Tim said,
13?
the 4th.
Oh, the week before?
That was the first week.
City of Point Comfort.
The 13th. Sounds like the.
Sounds like the 4th.
1 and 3 is 4, right?
The 13th is good.
The 13th Wednesday,
He was saying the week before, the Monday for the week.
that's church night.
Who?
Back when I started teaching, that was,
You don't have church that night. I remember. Those two don't have church that night. Those
Make 'em-
three don't have.
it was church night back
Make a motion that we reset
70 years ago.
regular meeting for, to be a special meeting on Wednesday, November 13th.
Okay, Wednesday.
Thank you for accommodating this.
Second it.
5:30,
Ups.
5:30 or
Let's do this.
6:30?
Well, is 5:30 work for you guys?
Absolutely.
6:30 be better.
Okay, 6:30.
Okay.
But you can't approve anything, right? On the-
Right, ordinance,
Yeah, but just not ordinances.
it's not ordinance. So if we bring anything in October, this second reading would be in December.
Okay, cool.
That'd be a shorter meeting.
Yeah.
For change.
Praise God.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Did we get a
Jim?
second?
Okay, it's gonna be the 13th, right?
Did I get a second?
I don't think we have.
I think Jim seconded.
Okay.
He made enough seconds that it should count.
Okay.
All right. A motion in the second,
Reschedule. Approving the rescheduling of the regular council meeting set for Monday, November 11, 2024, or Wednesday, November 13th.
Which one is 111?
6:30 P.M.
Meeting.
as a special meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Put it on the wrong place.
I know.
Items. Yep, agenda item number 17, consider recommendation of the planning board to consider a request for a minor replat for block 5, lots 5, 6, Lynn Haven subdivision, 109 to 111 Bottom Street, parcel ID 18848.
There's,
Sarah?
gonna be here, yeah, Derek had to go home sick today.
That's the one I get on.
Sarah?
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, Michael Williams, RPLS, on behalf of owner Jacob Atchison, who Mr. Williams is on Zoom with us today,
Of the lawn today.
is requesting a minor replat of 109 to 111 Bonham. The existing breezeway for the main structure is currently on both properties. Therefore, Mr. Williams is requesting approval to move the interior lot line in order for the breezeway to be 6 inches from the property line. The minor replat request does not meet the requirements as set out in section 1224D10 of the City of Port Lavaca's Code of Ordinances. In accordance with our adopted residential code, projections are not allowed to project less than 2 feet of property lines. The planning board recommendation was approval contingent on removal of the overhead structure that is within the setback requirements.
And there's a copy of the plat, post, replat,
I
page 177.
I think we ought to go with the planning board's recommendation.
We have Mr. Williams on
Oh, that's why.
online.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what it was for. I would have moved this up. All right, Mr. Williams, do you have any comments?
No, not at this time. Other than apologizing for the dogs.
There's.
I apologize for making you wait so long. This was a long meeting and
Yeah.
you're at
Not
the
a
very
problem.
end.
So.
Not a
So
problem.
it's denial.
The staff recommend denial, but the planning board recommended approval contingent
Right.
upon removal of the overhead structure. That's got it.
So
Move it.
I make a motion that we go with the planning board's recommendation.
So Mr. Williams is okay with removing the breezeway?
It's removed.
Which clients?
The owner is not, it doesn't matter either way to me.
It's what?
He's a surveyor.
He's a surveyor.
So basically, I mean, if council agree with the planning board, then it would not be approved if he doesn't.
If he doesn't remove.
Has to he has to make those improvements because
Well, I haven't seen the property, so I mean, this is whose area,
see that.
whose council's area?
Yeah.
Is it yours? Are you good? So Jim, what's our recommendation here? You've seen it.
if they make the changes and they fix it, that's fine, but it's,
Well, the main thing here is to remove the overhead structure that's setback requirements, which I guess is the breezeway.
After the move.
see what,
Then it could be approved.
what used to be the garage, they closed it in and made it an apartment. Then there was problem with the washing machine. It was flooding the apartment. And then, so they fixed that and then, now they've, I think turning it back into a garage. And, so it's,
They are trying to create it as two separate properties.
Yes, if you look at the plat.
So if they're planning on making it two separate properties, wouldn't removal of the breezeway be the smartest thing? If I remember it correctly, I mean, I haven't seen it.
Where is
you've seen the place, haven't
I've
you?
seen it.
where's the breezeway on here?
There's a breezeway that connects these two buildings.
We don't have any.
Is this it?
It's on the
There's a
plat.
blow up on
Okay.
176.
Maybe she can explain it from her picture.
So you do have an exhibit on page 176 that actually shows, I had to highlight mine. I don't know if you want to pass that around or I can come around and show you. So the is actually here in blue. And the property line, the interior lot line is this yellow line here. So you can see that the breezeway, as it is only half a foot away from the proposed boundary lines. So here's the breezeway in blue
Breezeway.
and the lot line. And here is the next home here.
That's the one that belongs to
Right there. Where
Deerlam,
it says
next
garage.
door. It's Deerlam.
Where's that at?
Well, currently it's one. I'm not sure who, and it's all under Jacob Atkinson. So I'm not sure.
Sarah, show me again, please. Where's the next one?
So here is the breezeway here, right here where it says garage. This is actually turned into a home here.
Okay.
This is where they're proposing to put, yes,
So it's one
Right
property.
now, it's just a
one property with 2 lots, and they are wanting to make it into 2 properties. So each will have its own parcel ID.
ID.
ID,
So
yes.
you can sell one.
Correct.
So it's just a variance order on the ordinance because it's within 2 feet.
But it's
Variance.
because
Of the breezeway.
it's not a variance only because they are going for a minor replat. So if you approve it as this, they don't have to get a variance because you approved it here in the plat.
So is this breezeway difficult to, I mean, is this a hardship to remove? Breezeway?
They had removed the portion that was attached to the garage.
Yes, because at one point, and you can see here, this is the other, on the other, what they're trying to make the other property. You can see it used to connect here,
Yeah.
and they did take a portion down,
Okay.
but again, it only leaves half a foot.
So the only concern is if it's sold in the future.
Correct. It could create a hardship for future.
And these are the.
And it's still sitting there.
So Jim, what's the recommendation?
Right across the street.
Be the current.
Shall we approve it with?
And what's your recommendation?
If the changes are made and fixes it up, yes, that's
Well,
one.
the only change that right now that we're talking about is allowing the replat. We're not really talking about anything physical with anything other than removing that breezeway or moving it to where it's at least
They want it at the 5
a
foot.
5 foot, so that it's not encroaching in the setback. That's the only improvement that is of discussion with the replat.
So what's the next one? What's that variance for?
Improvements in place.
Is the
But
next
we
one,
can't make them
is the
improve
next
the
one tied to this
interior.
one?
That was the case. On my.
It's the same property, so what,
Yeah, this property has the replat, the minor replat that they're wanting to do. And then for the other lot, we actually need a variance.
actually what?
That's the variance.
And that's different than this breezeway. Yeah.
This guy.
So they're asking for a different kind of variance?
Right, just one's a minor replat. And the next is a variance. To the ordinance.
Variance on the replat? Variance caused by the replat?
Oh, yeah. So
yeah,
here's
it's
the
right there.
picture if y'all want to look at it. There, you can see the breezeway.
Continue.
You can see the breezeway.
That's what I remember. Planning board was.
But it's fine, just they have to knock that concrete down too then.
Right.
Right?
Never moved some of it, I believe.
So if that was a
But
fence,
we moved more.
how close can the fence be to your house? Oh. Just, or the fence would be right on the line.
Fence
Without a variance?
with a variance.
Without a variance.
Fence, yeah.
So,
Fence without a variance, you can put it on the property line?
Yeah, I'm not very talented.
I mean, you can fence your yard, fence on.
On the line.
There it is, there, okay.
See,
You can barely see it because it's behind the tree.
But you can, actually, if you go down bottom a little bit,
Yeah,
okay.
just go down, yeah, now turn it. Oh, you went too far.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there it is. You can
Okay.
see it.
you can see it.
See, that used to be an apartment where that empty spot where they've got.
There's a cross.
Yeah, see that little breezeway right there.
So if that was a fence, it'd be okay, but since it's not a
It's
fence,
got a little
Roof on it though, right?
So the difference is the breezeway is attached to the main structure, so
Yeah.
it's the home. So it means it's a.
Fire chief said,
The entire structure is the home and the breezeway. It is all one structure.
we get nitpicky.
It's got
that
a
used to
roof
be an
to it, yeah.
apartment downstairs until they had all the flooding with
So
the.
basically separate the structures, so we can approve the
Yes.
All right.
Correct.
Planning board recommendation is good.
District.
just
So what's your,
saying,
what's the
remove the
recommendation?
breezeway,
Follow
say
what
separate the structure.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks okay for him.
So we can approve.
Yeah, but just.
Contingent.
That's all.
Approve
Oh, I don't
the
know.
recommendation of the planning board,
Mhm.
minor replat.
It is.
It's contingent on.
Of the breeze.
Of the breezeway.
So the motion is to approve.
Planning board's recommendation.
Just follow.
Removal of the breezeway.
Okay.
But what's the harm in just giving them the replat? Like, what?
Well,
could
it's the, I mean,
It will be in violation of setback.
issue,
the ordinance?
because the structure is only 6 inches from the property line.
For variance.
Yeah. I mean, are you thinking that?
This is like granting a variance ahead of time. Otherwise, when,
Yeah.
if you deny the replat, they'd have to come back and get a variance.
So Jim, are you thinking like fire would jump from one building to the next because it's too close?
I mean,
You wanted
Can't say what- I can't say what he's thinking.
Well, what the guy did, he was gonna make him, he fixed it so that he had all these apartments so that he can have lots of people living there.
Did we make a motion? Did anybody make a motion?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Waiting on Jim, but I tried to make a motion that.
Yeah, I have Alan's down.
Alan made a motion to go with the planning board.
Go with the planning board's recommendations, then on the removal of the breezeway,
Right.
recommended by the planning board.
Well, that says it's the staff's recommendation.
the staff's recommendation was to deny.
That is correct.
see, you've got both of these.
Do we have a
dealing with that
second?
Property.
I second, or did Jim second it?
All right.
In your district.
All right, we have a motion and a second, approving the recommendation of the planning board for a minor replat for block 5, lot 5 and 6, Haven subdivision 109 to 111
Denying
Street.
the planning board.
Contingent on the removal of the breezeway.
Thank you.
All in.
Thank you, thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If none opposed, motion passes. Okay,
So we got through that.
So he needs to remove, what is it, 5.5 feet of that breezeway?
Like
Or he-
4.5 feet.
4.5
feet.
separate the.
Or he can separate it from the house and leave it in place.
Yeah.
And you have to put that for a variance.
It's only 6 inches from the property line.
Okay. Okay.
Move to agenda item number 18, consider recommendation of the planning board to consider a variance to ordinance section 12 to 24. 10 for interior lot boundary line setback requirement. The property is described as block 5, lot 5 and 6. Glen Haven subdivision, 111 Bottom Street. Sarah?
Council member. So in accordance with section 1224-10, the Glen Haven subdivision requires a 5-foot setback for interior lots. The staircase provided for the second floor of the garage apartment at 111 Bottom Street encroaches into the required side yard by 2.13 feet and lessens the encroachment to 9 feet, as shown on the attached proposed minor replat. According to the CAD, the main dwelling and garage were built in 1965. The city does not have any building permit records for this property. Therefore, we cannot verify when the staircase was built and if the setbacks were approved at the time. For this one, the staff recommendation was approval and the planning recommendation is also approval.
That's a hardship thing.
Yeah, I think because it was existing and we're not changing that property line. That's the original property line.
This one encroaches on the property line as well, is what the variance is for.
It's
Yes.
too close. Outlets are.
But I think the reason why they approved this one is because this is how it was built originally and nothing's changed. Whereas the other one,
So at the time,
we're creating a new lot line.
Grandfather.
Yeah, the Paulsons lived there when I was in school. Mr. and Miss Paulson, it was a long time ago. It was like that too, so. But it was just a garage, and now it's all this.
Recommendation.
So, on staff.
Second it. Alan second. Okay, we have motion and a second approving the recommendation of the planning board and approving the variance to ordinance section 24D10 for the interior line boundary line permits of lot 5, lot 5 and 6 of the Davis 11 Bottom Street as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Opposed, motion passes. And we are at our closed session part of the meeting, so I would ask if council wants a 5-minute
Yes.
break.
Yes.
Are we here having?
Finish it. My Apple Watch says it's 9:15.
I make a motion that if we have more than 15 items, that we start at 5:30 instead of 6:30.
This gentleman works at a job.
I don't think he does. I think he's busy just Hollywooding around.
With 6 kids tagging along, yeah, that's all.
Nineteen.
Only 4.
Justin, you have
At
6?
2:33.
Yes, 4.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Let's go on the 9th day of September, 2024.
9:14.
9:11 PM. And we were returning to open session. We are at agenda item number 20. Take action on any items deemed necessary resulting from the matters in closed session. We have one matter to address.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the donation of Jan Reagan for the Reagan Building at 233 East Main.
Second.
Contingent upon allowing her and her family to remove any personal effects and also to leave the building named the Reagan Building. Reagan Building.
Yeah.
Regan.
I don't know why it always comes out that way.
Second,
I seconded.
but you hadn't finished the motion yet.
Well,
Okay, you second his motion, right?
yeah, I did.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second of approving or accepting the donation of the
Reagan Building.
Regan Building at 233 East Main Street. It's a donation contingent on Jan Regan's removal of any personal effects and naming the building the Regan Building. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Opposed, motion passes.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, before we adjourn, Wednesday at 11 o'clock, in front of the courthouse, 9/11, there will be a remembrance program. It's a very good program. They put it on almost every year.
This Wednesday?
This Wednesday, it's called Patriots Day. I'll be delivering a proclamation also. It'll involve several people speaking. It's a pretty short program, but it's very nice.
And remind me.
No, retaining the name.
The name.
Retaining.
You said at 9 AM?
Whatever. My phone is dead right now.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Same sign.
Second.
None opposed?
I think,
Thank y'all.
Justin will